to the NXT Podcast, your home for weekly NXT reviews and insight.
The beautiful part of NXT is that when one dream ends, another dream begins.
Find all of your NXT news, recaps, and analysis right here. So with that being said, we only have one question for you.
Are you ready?
We thought so. Let's get the show started right now.
Hey guys, welcome to your NXT review here on the WWE Podcast. This is Jay. I am coming at you from an undisclosed location in the Hudson Valley. So I guess I kind of disclose a little bit. In the Hudson Valley of New York. Probably like a mile away from the Hudson River. And probably even less actually. And we are here to give you your weekly dose of wrestling reviews, news, and all kinds of fun things to talk about. And I have a couple of fun things to talk about. The other night on Tuesday, we had the NXT show following New Year's Evil. And I have to tell you, the two shows were night and day. New Year's Evil, I mean, I spent the longest I've ever spent on a review talking about New Year's Evil last week. I asked my father what he thought of the podcast. I know, you guys know I bring up my father every now and again. And he thought I maybe went a little too overboard with my back and forth with the Rock segment. To be honest, maybe I did, but I don't ever really get to talk about The Rock because The Rock is never on NXT except this time. So I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel. And I did. And I am unapologetic for it. Not that my father said I should apologize. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that it's not my usual shtick. It was a little bit more intense, and I got to complain a little bit about the way things are playing out on the main roster, and that's usually Matt's gig. So it was kind of nice to be able to do that a little bit. Anyway. So we had the NXT show on the CW on Tuesday night, which would be, oh my goodness, it was January 14th. We are already 2 weeks into this new year, and yeah, it's just gonna keep going. We got the Royal Rumble in 2 weeks from Saturday. And then next week from Saturday, we have Saturday night's main event. On February 15th, we have Vengeance Day, which is the next NXT pay-per-view, which of course I will be reviewing that as well, just so you all are aware. And, but when I say that New Year's Evil and this week's NXT show was like night and day, it really was. Last week we had 3 new champions crowned. We had The Rock come in. We had an awesome other matches, and another match beyond that with the Fatal 4-Way for the North America, which I will get into in a second because I have a huge problem with that. And I mentioned it last week, but it played out this week, so I want to mention it again. And this week was just okay. It was really just okay, and I feel like it goes to show you that Raw has basically an not unlimited amount of time, but they basically have all the time they need to play with. First week it was 3 hours, second week it was 2.5, 2 hours and 37 minutes roughly. SmackDown has 3 hours, both with commercials. And NXT has 2 hours a week. And they have a huge roster. I mean, they have a huge women's roster, a decent-sized men's roster. The tag team roster is getting bigger now. And they still only have 2 hours. So it seems like, to me, what they're doing is they may highlight the the big winners. They may highlight the Oberfemis this week. They may highlight Roxanne Perez, who's not the winner, but, she still is, she's still one of the top gals, regardless of whether she has a piece of metal strapped to her body or not. So, but this week we got a lot of the people that couldn't be on last week. So it seems to me like they're kind of like they highlight some of the bigger storylines week to week, but generally they don't talk a lot of, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. It seems like they just kind of waver back and forth between storylines because they only have 2 hours and they got to get in everything they got to get in, but they also got to talk about the world, the big champions, and even, last week they didn't even mention, they didn't even mention Tony D'Angelo in the North American title. Anyway, let's move forward, because I feel like I'm just ranting already, and I need to actually talk about the show, what happened. So, we have the results from January 14, 2025, from the WWE Performance Center, and it is in Winter Park, Florida. And next week, I heard they said they were going to be in Atlanta. I think it was next week, so that would be interesting. Or maybe in 2 weeks. I don't remember exactly. The commentators were Vic, Joseph, and Booker T. Now, I'm stopping there for a second because there's been a little bit of news this week about commentators in the WWE. If you've been paying attention, or if you haven't, I'll kind of explain. So, and I was kind of thinking this, actually. So, we all knew that Pat McAfee was going to be back on Monday Night Raw after the college football season, which he is. And, because it's the Netflix show, they wanted to put the A-Team on Netflix, so they put on Corey Graves and Pat McAfee, which, let me tell you, the two of them together are gold. They are gold. They should be on Netflix. They should be on Monday Night Raw. There's no reason why they shouldn't be. Okay. So now you have those two. Now you still have Joe Tessitore, who, mind you, just started out, after Pat McAfee left in the fall, and has done a pretty bang-up job. He does a pretty bang-up job. So you got Joe Tessitore, who's got to go somewhere, so they put him on SmackDown. Makes sense. Then, so he's the play-by-play guy for SmackDown. Now, who's going to be, the big question was going to be, who would be the was it color commentary guy next to them on SmackDown? Turns out, we found out last week, it's going to be Wade Barrett. Now, here's the problem. Where does that leave Corey Graves, right? So last week, Corey Graves helped call New Year's Evil. And I have to tell you, I don't know, man. I'm going to go back and listen to it again. Maybe not the whole, or watch it. Maybe not the whole thing, but maybe the whole thing. Corey Graves seemed just a little grumpy last week. I mean, I'm trying to not use a swear word, but kind of grumpy during listen. I love Corey Graves. Sometimes he can get in his own way. He just talks too much. But generally speaking, I like his passion. I think he plays off Michael Cole well, not as well as Pat McAfee. So Corey Graves ended up on NXT next to Vic Joseph and Booker T. And I have to tell you, Booker T annoys the heck out of me. So I was very happy to have somebody else besides Booker T sitting in commentary. And Vic Joseph to me is great. I think he's great. I mean, he's good for NXT for sure. But now this week, so there was a tweet, or whatever they're called now on X, by Corey Graves complaining about his status as in doing color commentary, or doing commentary for WWE, because apparently he's not happy with the fact that he was sent down to NXT. And he was, from what I hear, he was supposed to be here this week as well, but he ended up not being on the show. And I also heard a rumor that somebody saw him get on a plane out of Orlando the day of the NXT show on Tuesday night. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I really hope Corey Graves doesn't leave WWE. I hope they find him something to do. I think they have a great group of guys minus Booker T. I'm sorry, I can't do it with him. I can't. Fortunately, I have to watch it every week to review the show. I don't have to. I want to, but still, Booker T just drives me nuts. I mean, there are times where he's great, he's fine, not great, fine, but with the whole like champagne wishes and caviar, he's got to say that every single time, every week he's got to say it at least once, and all the like. Sometimes the way he talks, I can't really understand what he's saying. Overall, I do like Booker T, but I don't know. So anyway. So as of now, it looks like it's Booker T and Vic Joseph still on NXT because Corey Graves wasn't there. And then I told you who else is on. It was on the other shows. So I'll be interested to see how this plays out. And I'm going to keep an eye on it between this week and next week to see how it plays out. And kind of give you guys an update next week. So, as always, for NXT, the ring announcer is Mike Rome. So my friends and I, we went to see. It was weird. It was a place, an organization called Awesome Championship Wrestling, and it was in Poughkeepsie at the former Mid-Hudson Civic Center. It's now called the Neshawat Civic Center or something like that. And let me tell you, it was a great show. They incorporated NWA matches. They incorporated They incorporated TNA matches. NWA matches, and then they had their own. So they actually that night the NWA world title was defended. The TNA world title with Nick Nemeth was defended against Matt Riddle, So the main event was Nick Nemeth, former Dolph Ziggler, against Matt Riddle, which was a great match. It was a great card. I have to tell you, if you ever see anything about Awesome Championship Wrestling or ACW, check it out. They're still kind of getting going, so they're not doing a lot, but for those of you that were in Poughkeepsie, if you happen to be in Poughkeepsie that day, it was a great show, and let me know what you think. Anyway, so back to, I keep going off on tangents, and I apologize, but unfortunately, I haven't taken my ADD meds since this morning, and they're starting to wear off. True story. So we have first Obafemi coming out. After they did the review highlights of New Year's Evil, how everything went, The Rock, everything like that, the title changes. So we have Obafemi come out first, and he addresses the NXT universe, and he says, "Dread it, run from it. Destiny will always arrive, just like I have arrived, and now it's time for me to take my rightful place upon the throne." Many of men would win something as big as this, and they would say they've come out here to say, "I never believed I could do it. I've always believed," this is Obafemi, "I always believed I could do it because ever since day one when I walked through these doors, I told everybody I was backed by destiny, and some of you thought it was just a catchphrase, a gimmick, a joke. Nope, I've been backed by destiny all along. I was backed by destiny when I won the Breakout Tournament. I was backed by destiny when I won the North American Championship. I was backed by destiny when I became the longest reigning North American Champion. And I was definitely backed by destiny when I became the NXT Champion. Because all of this is all mine now, and it belongs to the ruler, and I'm going to rule as I see fit." But let's talk about Trick Williams for a second. Let's acknowledge Trick Williams. He's put a lot of hard work into this. He broke so many records as champion, but just like every other guy back there, Trick Williams has a ceiling, and Obafemi has no ceiling. Right now, I tend to agree with that. Definitely I don't know about Trick Williams having a ceiling right now. I mean, he will eventually, but he does. I don't know if he does right now. And interestingly, Trick really didn't come out at all during the show this week. They briefly showed him, but he didn't. I don't know for sure if he was actually there, so that's going to be interesting. Especially with the Royal Rumble coming up soon, everybody is a possibility of showing up there, especially with the women. The women's Royal Rumble, like, again, there's a plethora of great women's wrestlers right now in NXT. And there's a lack of them in the main roster, so there's going to be spots in the women's Royal Rumble for people to come out from either NXT or even possibly TNA, which I'm going to talk about in a second. Well, at the end, probably. Then he goes on to talk about Eddie. He's like a cockroach that won't die, like the gum on your shoe that won't go away. But Eddie, I'm going to issue you my first and final warning. You can go and annoy somebody else in the locker room. And then, out of nowhere, Tony D'Angelo comes out. So we've got Obafemi in the ring with his NXT championship, and we got Tony D'Angelo coming out with the North American title. And he says, Oba, my pal, my guy, how are you doing? Hey, listen, congrats on the victory, but by the way, you're in the big seat now. So listen, I was in the back with the family, and we were listening to you list all your accomplishments, but my personal favorite is you being the longest reigning North American champion. But in my opinion, when it comes to the title, it's the Don 2 and the Ruler 1. See, there is no question about it. You are the ruler right now, but just remember, I am the one man to defeat you, and when I decide to go for that championship, you and I both know that I'm walking out of the ring the 2-titled Don. And Nova says, Tony, I see that you found your confidence here, and that's good for you. That's amazing. But the last time I checked last week, didn't you get your ass dropped by Santa Claus? So if I were you, I would start worrying about the North American Championship a lot more and leave me be. Tony D'Angelo then says, listen, nobody gets one on the Don without consequences. I'll take care of Ridge Holland, don't you worry. And then say his name, and here comes out Ridge Holland. Hello, Tony, good to see you again. You are looking in a lot better shape than the last time I saw you. Oh, and before I forget, I brought you a belated Christmas gift. What do you think? And he pulls out a picture. Of, if you didn't hear the sirens, I'm in my living room. There's sirens in the background. So he pulls out a picture of himself dressed as Santa Claus beating up Tony D'Angelo from, I guess, New Year's Eve. You know what? That's pretty funny. Let me sign that for you. That's what Tony D'Angelo says. And then the two of them start brawling towards the backstage area. And then as that's happening, Eddie Thorpe attacks Femi from behind, drop kicks the left knee of Femi, and then viciously attacks Femi with a leather strap. Now, out of nowhere, he brings out a leather strap. So, are we looking at a strap match again in the future? Interesting. Then we head back to the men's locker room where Ethan Page brags about his segment with The Rock last week. Page says that he can smell the jealousy from the locker room. And then Dante Chen, who I barely remember his name, he tells Ethan Page that nobody wants him in the locker room after what he did to Javon Evans and Cedric Alexander. Dante shoves Ethan after he jokes about breaking Devon's jaw, and Dante goes to Ava's office for a match. So now there's a match. It's going to be a match between Ethan Page and what's his name again? Dante Chen. Again, yeah. Please keep Ethan Page a heel forever. He is so good. Like, he is. I don't know if I could never see him as a babyface ever. The first match we have is Stephanie Vaquer versus Shotzi in a number one contenders match for the NXT Women's North American Championship. Again, I said this last week. I don't understand. Like, okay, Stephanie Vaquer won a fatal 4-way match for the opportunity to fight for the NXT Women's North American Championship. Because Shotzi happened to be the one that pinned Fallon Henley in a six-woman tag match, she gets to step up? Like, I don't get it. But you know what? I guess I like Shotzi. I do. I'm glad that, spoiler alert, she's going to win the match. But I'm hoping this is just to kind of draw out the process of Stephanie either winning the North American Championship or eventually, again, I honestly think that Stephanie and Julia are going to either go against each other at Stand and Deliver or possibly main event Stand and Deliver. And I keep saying that, and I'm holding on to that. Anyway. So we got this match. It goes back and forth. Again, I kind of ruined it. Shotzi ended up winning the match after Fallon Henley came down, distracted the referee, and ended up using the North American Women's title and kind of bashing it over Stephanie's back. And then Shotzi, so she came out originally, and Shotzi and Stephanie kind of started beating on JC Jane first, and then Fallon Henley came out. It was a crazy match. Anyway, at the end of the day, Shotzi won the match. What is going on around this neighborhood? Shotzi won the match. She said that she seemed like she had a problem with the way she won it because she didn't realize until after the fact. But again, at the end of the day, she's getting a title shot. So I think it's next week or 2 weeks. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's next week. And Stephanie is still Stephanie. She's awesome. That's just me. So later on, we have Sol Ruka telling Kalani Jordan that things are going to turn around, and Zarya says that Kalani should use her recent losses as motivation, more like motivation to the back of the line, according to Cora Jade. Cora has no doubt that she's going to win a title before Kalani wins another. Cora says that Kalani can have all the attitude in the world because she is still going to be the same little girl from Michigan State, and Kalani got ticked about that and started just beating the crap out of Cora Jade, and eventually it turned into a match later on. Stephanie Vaccora then attacks JC Jane in the trainer's room during the commercial break. And then Obafemi storms into Ava's office and wants a match against Eddie Thorpe for the NXT title. Ava is not going to reward Eddie's bad behavior. Mr. Stone says that Eddie is playing Oba like a fiddle, and Oba lifts Stone up against the wall. Ava then tells Oba that to put Stone down and grants Oba what she wants. So apparently you can manhandle a manager or whatever Stone is in order to get what you want. So that's fun. That's basic parenting skills. Like, no, you don't do that. That's just me. Next match we have is Ethan Page versus Dante Chen. This match was okay. I mean, it was a quick match at the end. It was very quick, actually. At the end, Ethan Page wins. He puts his right leg. After he wins the match, he takes Chen, puts his right leg inside the steel ring steps, and viciously kicks the steps, which potentially, I guess, broke his leg. I mean, he's already broken Javon's jaw. He's broken Cedric's wrist, fingers, whatever. And maybe he broke Dante Chen's leg. I don't know for sure. Then Javon comes out, wired jaw and all, and starts teeing off on Paige. And then Paige proceeds to punch Evans in the jaw, and that stops that. And then Paige starts yelling because his jaw's wired shut. He just got punched in the face. Evans or Ethan Page starts saying, "Hey, give me a smile, give me a smile." I mean, he's such a good heel. He's so good. All right, so Ethan Page wins the match. Then we have Shawn Spears trying to recruit Adriana Rizzo away from the family, and Izzy Dame tells Spears that she doesn't need him, and Spears highly doubts that. And then Rizzo starts to get ticked off at Izzy Dame, saying that she had it handled, which I don't doubt. And then meanwhile, we go over to Shante the Adonis, doesn't want to play games anymore, and then kisses Carmen Petrovic. So fun. Then we have a little vignette about Julia. Half of it was in Japanese, and basically, Julia's awesome. She's the champion. She's awesome. That's basically what it boils down to. It's true. Sarah Schreiber then has a backstage interview with DIY. So DIY shows up, and so the reason why DIY is there is because everybody's raving about Fraxium, right? Which I have to tell you, the more I watch Fraxium, the more I'm on the train, right? So recently people have been calling Fraxium the best WWE tag team, the best NXT tag team ever, which, for those of you that know DIY, was a tag team in NXT a while ago. So they're a little offended by the fact that the people are calling Fraxium the best tag team. So they come to get a closer view on, because TV's not close enough, right? They're getting a closer view on to see what Fraxium is all about. So Sarah Shriver's interviewing DIY. And Johnny Gargano says that one day the world will rejoice. The world will rejoice watching DIY battle Fraxium, and Tommaso Ciampa promises that they are not there to cause problems. And to be honest, they didn't. All they did, from what I remember, off the top of my head, all they did was stand at the balcony just to watch. So interesting. For those of you that don't know, Fraxium was defending the titles against OTM later on. Then we've got the best match of the night. So I have this is the best match of the night by far. Although Fraxium against OTM was good, but that's because Fraxium is really good. I don't particularly care for OTM. It's just my own personal opinion. But this match was the best match of the night. But here's the problem. So the match. Let me go back. The match was Meta 4, the women. So Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend versus the Unholy Union. Alba Fire and Isle Dawn for the number one contenders match for the women's tag team champions. Now, here's my issue with this match before I get into it. My issue with this match is it shouldn't have been on NXT. I don't understand. So there's up to 6 hours of main roster time to do this match, and they for one women's tag team who is assigned to Monday Night Raw, and the other women's tag team who's not assigned to the main roster but has been in the main roster and has actually who's actually fought for the women's tag team championship in Saudi Arabia. So I don't understand why we're taking up NXT 2 hours. That's it, 2 hours of NXT time for a match that really should have or could have been on Raw or SmackDown in one of the 6 hours that you have. I hope this means, just to kind of give them a shot, I hope this means that the winner of this match will face Bianca and Naomi in NXT. I would assume that that's what it means, but nothing's been said. There's only one women's tag team champions for all 3 shows. So we'll have to see. But anyway, once again, by far, this was the best match. And then these 4 women are great. Lash Legend will be a top tier champion in 5 years. Within 5 years, I'll say. She is strong. She's powerful. Put her against Jade. Put her against Rhea. Please. Well, Rhea for certain. Please, because she is so good and so powerful, and she looks great and she wrestles great. Like, just think about all the stuff that Jade Cargill has gone through for the last year, and now they've taken her off TV. And could be for an injury, could be because she's not very good. Lash Legend is. And so is Jakara Jackson, but Lash Legend's definitely the better of the two. Listen, this was a great match. It went back and forth. Great chemistry. The 4 of them have great chemistry together. And at the end, we have Legend body slams Dawn. Splash to Dawn, a 2 count. Dawn fights out the fireman's carry position. Dawn throwing haymakers. Legend rocks Dawn with a forearm smash. Fire attacks Legend behind the referee's back. Dawn applies a sleeper hold. Fire tags herself in. Fire repeatedly stomps on Legend's chest. Fire then choking Legend with her boot. And Isla Dawn tags herself in. Eventually, Legend sends Dawn to the spilling to the floor. Dawn jumps on Legend's back. Legend puts Jackson on his shoulders. Fire sends Jackson face first into the top turnbuckle pad, and Dawn pulls Jackson out of the ring. And eventually Fire wipes out Metaphor with a flying cannonball senton to the outside. This was, like I said, it was back and forth. It was a great match. Eventually, it went a long time too. Actually, it was a long match. Eventually, we got Dawn tagging in Fire. Fire goes for the Glory Bomb, but Legend tags herself in. Nails Dawn with a pump kick, which, let me tell you, if you've seen Lash Legend's pump kick, man, wow. Metaphor connects with their running cutter, sit-out, face-buster combination to pick up the victory. Basically, it's their move is it's a true tag team move. It's a great move. Anyway, so the winner was Metaphor. They are supposed to be facing Bianca and Naomi at some point. Again, I don't know where, and I don't know when, but they're supposed to. So, good job, Metaphor. Like I said, best match of the evening, as far as I'm concerned. Ren Sinclair then demands a rematch for the Heritage Cup for Charlie Dempsey, because she feels that Lexis intentionally kicked Charlie Dempsey in the jewels. We'll say jewels. Last week. And Ava says that Charlie does deserve a rematch. The Don and Ridge Holland are brawling in the parking lot right after that is done. Then we have... Okay, so now I'm going to go off on a tangent again, but for a purpose. Then we have the current TNA Knockouts champion, Masha Slamovich, in the crowd scouting competition. Now, at the time, I was like, that's interesting. Why would it think, obviously Jordan Grace has been there, but it's Jordan Grace. It's different. The Jordan Grace is, transcends TNA, like Joe Hendry does, a lot of guys do. But I was thinking to myself, why would the TNA Knockouts champion be in the audience now? And not only that, during the next match, which was Kalani Jordan versus Cora Jade, during that match, not only was she in the audience, but also I noticed, and this was fascinating. Vic Joseph plugged the next TNA pay-per-view. What? Wow! Which is, I believe, it's the pay-per-view where Joe Hendry is going for the TNA championship against Nick Nemeth. I think it's January 19th. I forgot what it's called. But it's huge, NXT. So I'm wondering what's going on. I'm really wondering what's going on with this. This was huge. Even though they've had partnerships in the past with TNA, they're plugging a TNA show. Why are they plugging the show? Well, the TNA pay-per-views are on Friday nights. I don't know. That's a good question. But I guess these days you can watch everything whenever you want because, streaming. Then, come to find out today, today's Thursday, January 19th. Right? No. 16th, sorry. January 16th. Come to find out today that the WWE and TNA have signed an agreement continuing to have much cross promotion between TNA and between NXT. So that's super exciting. I have to tell you, every time someone from TNA came over, now I didn't watch TNA. I don't have the channel that TNA is on, which stinks. I'm sorry, I can't see myself spending $10 a month for TNA for their app, but where was I going with this? Oh yeah, but every time a TNA wrestler came over to NXT, it was exciting. Every time, it didn't matter who it was. I mean, yes, Joe Hendry, Jordan Grace, to me, huge, right? I'll be interested to see if Nick Nemeth comes over. So Nick Nemeth, for years. A decade and a half, was Dolph Ziggler in the WWE. Now he's a TNA champion. They're doing cross promotion. That's going to be interesting. What are they going to call him? Probably Dolph Ziggler. Probably, actually, Nick Nemeth. Anyway, so more information, more news. See, this isn't just about the review. This is about all the things that you need to know. We got Kalani Jordan versus Cora Jade. This match was okay. It was just okay. It wasn't anything like to call your mama and say, "Oh, watch this match. This is a great match." It was really just okay. In the end, Kalani Jordan was mauling Cora Jade in the corner, and she rakes her eyes and connects with the double underhook DDT to pick up the victory. So your winner is Cora Jade via pinfall. Then you have Eddie Thorpe bragging about Obafemi constantly falling for his baits. He's happy that Ava gave him an NXT title match for next week, and it almost makes up for her calling him a liar. This was on. They showed an Instagram video, and you could see it was number one. It wasn't horizontal. It was vertical. You know, when you put something on TV like vertically on from your phone, it looks weird. So they had like Instagram like, you know, the little camera thing for Instagram. They had that on the side. So this was clearly an Instagram post. So I guess he wasn't there that night either. I don't know. No, he was. He attacked Obafemi earlier. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. Anyway, then you've got Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura, right, telling Fraxian that they got next week following tonight's main event. And then OTM comes and says, you should be talking to us because we're going to win the titles. And then you have the fifth match, which is Axiom and Nathan Frazier versus OTM for the NXT Tag Team Championships. This was definitely the second best match of the night, and again, it's because of Fraxium. The Fraxium is, like, OTM, they're okay, but they're kind of like, they're big guys, and they move like big guys. Axiom is great. It was a great match because of Fraxium. Again, to me, second best match of the night. And Fraxium does all of their moves. They did all the moves that they normally do, and at the end, which we're going to get to the end in a second. So it was a fairly long match. So in the end, Axiom connects with the Avalanche Spanish Fly, and then that was Frazier, and Axiom connects with the Golden Ratio to pick up the victory and retain the NXT Tag Team Championships. I honestly don't see Fraxium losing those titles anytime soon. I can't think of who would beat them. Maybe Hank and Tank. And I only say Hank and Tank only because they're one of the few other tag teams that I know their names, and they're fun. They're the opposite of Fraxium, to be honest. They're big guys that just beat. They're like I grew up during the 80s and 90s wrestling, so to compare them, I compare them to like the Nasty Boys, if you know what I'm talking about. So next week on NXT, Tony D'Angelo will put the NXT North American Championship up against Ridge Holland. Then Roxanne Perez comes out. And I'm not going to go through everything that she says, but she starts off sounding kind of humble, and and then then ends up turning, because Roxanne Perez is what she does. She ends up turning and starts saying that basically the women's division is not going to be as good because she's not the champion anymore. Which, of course she's going to say that. And then all of a sudden she starts talking about, hey, back when they had the 4 horsewomen, they needed 4 people to run the division, and now they only need 1 me. And then Bayley's music hits, and Bayley comes out. Now, Bayley's had a busy week. So, Bayley, she's been everywhere this last week. Bayley, on Friday night, won the Fatal 4-Way match to become the number 1 contender for Tiffany Stratton's title. She then was, because Raw was at San Jose, she was in San Jose on Monday, and did a little bit there with Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax. And then now she's on NXT talking to Roxanne. And Bayley says, because, I'm going to say what Bayley said. I'm not going to say what Roxanne. Roxanne went on incessantly. I'm not even going to go into it. Bayley says, ding dong, Roxanne. Happy Tuesday, Rox. Thank you guys. I'm excited to be back, and I had to come out here because knowing you, I knew you were going to be upset about your title loss with Julia at New Year's Evil. But look, to me, I see that you're at a crossroad in your career right now, so you can either act like you are right now, or you could adapt to the situation and grow from it. And Roxanne says, I did not ask for your advice. And then Bayley says, you didn't ask for my advice? I'm pretty sure you've been asking for advice since the day you walked into WWE. You've been asking for advice since the first day we met when you were a little bit shorter than you are now right now, which is crazy. I mean, Roxanne's very tiny. And when you were 14 in Austin, Texas. Look, I love NXT. Everyone knows how much this means to me. And you know how much I've followed your career and I've believed in you since day one. But sister, the division is going to be fine. All right, Kalani, Jada, even Cora, they're all going to be fine without you. And it doesn't mean that what you did wasn't important. It just means that we're bigger than that. You know, your title run was amazing. It was one of the best that we ever had. And Roxanne says, you're just like Natalya and you're just like CM Punk. And I hate that you're out here trying to tell me the same things that they did. Because you know what that shows me? It shows me that you are just like everyone I used to look up to. Why are you even here, Bayley? Do you think the NXT owes you something? Yeah, you set records, but guess what? I broke them. Let's face it, Bayley. You were my role model, but I think I can be yours now. Bayley says, you know what, Rox? The difference between you and me is that you're going to remain the same way while I'm going to WrestleMania after I win the title from Tiffany Stratton this Friday. And Roxanne slaps Bayley in the face, and Roxanne and Bayley get into a brawl as the show goes off the air. Whew. So that was a great segment. Always love Bayley. Let me tell you, I was cheering for Bayley last year at the Royal Rumble. They really screwed... I'm going to talk about Bayley for a second, even though she's a main roster. They really screwed her over last year. They gave her the highest of highs, winning the Royal Rumble, going on to WrestleMania, and beating Io Sky in a fantastic match. Fantastic match. And then they did her dirty. They didn't do anything with her after that. It's like highest of highs, and then I'm not going to say low. Well, she wasn't low, but she was champion till SummerSlam. But it was just like, okay, now Bayley's champion. That's it. It was weird. The whole thing was weird. Anyway, that was the show. Again, wasn't nearly as good as New Year's Evil. It was an okay show. You know, it's a show that you watch, and you watch NXT and you watch it. It's good. But hopefully next week will be better. There is a title match, at least one title match next week. And then they're going to be in Atlanta. I don't remember if they said Atlanta was next week or the week after, but every time they seem to not be in the Performance Center, it's the stories tend to move the needle more. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. Lots of stuff going on in the wrestling world, even outside of the Performance Center itself, which we talked about. And don't forget, Patreon, subscribe ad-free on both Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. In the meantime, I will talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.